Hello, everyone. We are here today, episode 4, Backpacks and Stories. I'm here today with Tim or TK.
What's up?
What do you want to go by today, Tim or TK?
Let's go about TK because I'm gonna be plugging a few things later, and it's probably easier to just keep it consistent.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I, I remember when you you introduced yourself when we met, and someone asked you, and you was like, "Well, I've been trying to get the nickname going, but it's not really picking up."
See, like only my really close friends, and when they're like, it's like they call me TK when it's like, oh TK, TK, like they're trying to gas me up in it. But like on a normal day-to-day basis, yeah, it's not really sticking like that. But I'm gonna keep going. Trust me, it's gonna catch on one of these days.
When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Would you start by introducing yourself?
Okay, so my name is Timothy, aka TK. Um, 25 years old. From London. I met Benito, which I'm not sure if you're still going by these days, where you should literally change your name formally to Benito. But that's besides the point. We met in the sunny Colombia. That was my first real experience of traveling for a long period of time, and yeah, it was a really good experience. It was great to meet Benito down there. Yeah, just looking forward to what's to come next, whenever that may be.
Yeah. I think it was really crazy that already 6 months have gone by since we first met on
Yeah,
your birthday in
yeah.
February in Colombia, and then we were there for 3 months, 3.5, and then it's already been 3 months again. Like this time is just flying by.
It's going too quickly. It's been such a weird time being back in London all this time. With in regards to a few different things, but I miss that school. So I miss my kids so much. I miss them like every day. I look at a picture of those kids, and I really that was a really fun time. Like Colombia in general was a good time, but that's the I'm happy that the one thing we were actually there for is the thing that I genuinely enjoy to do, like teaching the kids, and I would definitely be back there. Chinchilla has not seen the last of me. So
Mm.
yeah, man. I wish I had. That's one thing that I still think about as well. Like how much better would have been if I knew Spanish, if I could speak the language. I guess that's what comes with your first experience in that type of environment, like the growing pains, I guess. And hopefully, by the time I go back, I can at least conversate a little bit instead
Have you
of having.
practicing?
I have not been practicing, and I feel so terrible about it. I still feel like okay, you know what? Because of all those different, and you said that you like to you do the tour thing, and what the other Ben was doing as well. I know there are resources to actually learn better than just downloading Duolingo and using the free version because I ain't paying for it. So I do plan when things are a bit more settled here. I do. That's still something that's on my list to at least start and just get into the rhythm of. I still plan on going back next year. That's my goal. I'm not sure when next year, but like I think I just need to prepare a little bit better before that time comes, and hopefully when that time comes, I will have a bit more Spanish under my belt.
Hopefully. And I mean the language learning process is very big, and it can be very complicated and very daunting. I mean, I think back to when I first started learning Spanish, it was in Australia, and I started with the audiobooks that I recommend to everyone, and I would learn small things to be funny and polite with my friends from Argentina and Chile.
Mm.
but then it was, and I was doing my Duolingo for a few months before, but it wasn't until I really arrived and I said, I've I had a different experience to you because I went there and I made it my mission to not spend time with people who speak English,
Yeah.
because that fundamentally that is how you learn. You have to
Yeah.
throw yourself into the deep end. I have to understand. I have to communicate because I need to know. I remember I'll tell this story. I was in Santiago after spending a week with my friend and his family. I was at the bus station and I'd bought my ticket already. It was, I don't know, like 35, 40 pounds
Yeah.
in Chilean. And I was there 15 minutes before, but the terminal was crazy. It was packed, and I had my big backpack and my smaller backpack on my front, and I was looking for the bus, but I didn't want to ask anyone. Like I was, just feeling so anxious.
Yeah.
And by the time I went to the office, he told me, "Ya se fue. He's already gone." And then I said, "Okay, well, I can't be in situations like this. I can't be losing 40 pounds every week
I'm trying
because
to travel. Yeah.
100%."
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Like that is one thing. When I was on my way there, I was like, okay. I mean, actually, no. When we first got there and we met the group, I realized that I need to spend more time with locals and the people that actually live there because number one, for the language reasons, like you pick up more, and I definitely did pick up quite a bit. Like when I'm watching my shows and they have a small Spanish element in it, I try my best to see if I can understand what they're saying, and it's a little better than it was before I went, but there's still a lot of learning to do. But I just wanted to immerse myself in that their culture. Like I didn't want to just be doing the things that I'd be. Well, I wasn't really doing the things that they were doing when I was back in London either, but it was Western things really, like just chilling and drinking. I mean, everyone chills and drinks and does all of those things, but it was just I just really wanted to make sure that I made the most of where I was. And to an extent, I think I did do that. I feel like I could have done a little bit more. I could have been a little bit more outgoing overall, but and tried harder with the Spanish while I was there. I think you made it a bit easier for me to just say, you know what, like let me just rely on you rather than try, because you saw the other Ben, like he was actively learning while he was there, and I'm sure he picked up a lot. And if I'd done that, especially being there for an extra month as well, I could have done a little bit better, but I guess those are just lessons to be learned for the next time.
Oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like you say, it was your first experience, your first a long travel away from home.
Mm,
You had so much more going on in your head than just I have to learn this language right now, because we were in a bubble. The
yeah,
where we were living, it was a cool experience where we were living, but we were also up on a hill away from the town.
yeah.
We had all of our food served for us. There wasn't so much room to learn, and I think you still went above and beyond a lot of other people. You went and did your own thing. You did go
Mm.
in a lot of time with locals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did love the mansion up on the hill. That was a really cool experience because I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting, but I definitely wasn't that. And having that backstory to that mansion was really. Were you there that day?
Yeah, I was there that day. Do
That
you want to
was that
tell
was
a story to the mansion?
sure. I forgot his name, but maybe he's better. I don't say his name according to what Glenn was saying. But basically, one of a notorious man in Colombia. I don't want to be so obscure, but should I just say the names?
Maybe no, maybe not.
Okay, so a notorious man known in Colombia once had a lieutenant who lived in the city that we were in or the town that we were in, and he built this house on this hill about 400 meters up a hill. And it was a beautiful place. I'm sure, like, it was way more beautiful when it was built. And like all the different rooms, like when we were going through the tour, it was clear that like some damage has been taken. I'm not sure if it was the feds or I would have loved to seen how it kind of, got burned and stuff, like what the stories behind that, because he didn't tell us that. But he was just going through the different rooms, going through the whole house, explaining what the use of it was back in the day. And like the room that I was in with Andre, that was a funny room as well, because it had one of those mirrors, and we tried to get in there. It's just a mess, but it was just a really big, beautiful place that used to have a lot more entertainment than it does now. Like it was definitely not a family home, and it was just really cool to learn about that and to spend a few months there. Yeah, and I was expecting excitement going to Colombia, and like to have that as the first thing, like it did definitely set a good tempo to the place. So, but yeah, like going back to what you were saying, as like for me to going out and stuff, it was a bit more difficult living up there, especially when you wanted to go out at night. But I mean, I did do some things, but I think even those things, I kind of got comfortable in them. After a certain point, I wasn't really looking to do new things and try different things, especially like the food as well. How difficult that was for me. That was quite difficult, but yeah, definitely. Like I said before, it was a good starting spot for me. It was a good place to start, and I know a few things that I would do if I was to go back, a few things that I would like to try, even if I don't go back or if I go somewhere else, just like traveling in general. So yeah, yeah. I
I mean,
definitely have a lot.
you say even if you don't go back, but you have a big suitcase full of clothes
Yeah,
there.
I have to go back. Yeah, exactly. But like, if it's not so immediate, I got the the guy that runs the program. He messaged me. I don't know if I should say names. That's even when I said Andre's name, I was like, eh.
Maybe leave out the foundation name, but
Okay, so the guy who runs the program, he messaged me maybe like a month ago, asking when I was gonna come back, because my original plan was to graduate and then go back in like August. So when I told him that things didn't really work out like that, he just aired me, and I was like, oh no, like because I also needed a reference from him, and he said that if I just write a reference, he'll sign it and like he'll co-sign it. But when he aired me, I was like, oh no, like maybe he's pissed I wasn't able to stick to my timeline, and he's just having to hold on to my luggage for however long with no like real plan for me to come back. I don't know if like I feel like he said that they were leaving the house themselves eventually, but there was so many suitcases there as well. So I don't know if it's such a big deal or not, but I do have to go get it back. Like I'm really lacking clothes. I was literally thinking about it a couple of days ago. Now that winter's coming, all my winter stuff is literally there in sunny Colombia. How does that even make sense? Like I've got all my flipping hoodies in Colombia. What? What? Where's the logic in that? Oh my gosh, I packed like such a dance. I literally packed like a dance for that trip.
when I first met you and I saw these these a big bag and big suitcases, like yeah, you live and learn. You live and
Yeah,
learn.
literally, literally. That's definitely a lesson I've taken as well. But especially like when we were going to like Salento and all these little mini spots that we ended up going to. I'd always, even then, I was overpacking. I remember we went to Salento and I just had a big bag. I stuffed that motherfucker to the brim, and I still forgot like my swimming shorts and other things as well. And packing has never really been a specialty of mine. Like I always do too much or don't do enough. So I definitely have a little more to learn there. But I know when to go. When I do go back, I'm definitely like there's no way I can pack that much. I can't make that mistake again. So at least that's in the past now. I know I'm gonna have to pay for it when I'm having to come back as well, and that's not gonna be pretty at all. I'm not looking forward to that.
No, no, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So now what have you been doing in London these past few months since you've been back? How's life been?
To keep it a buck, life has been it's been, it's been I was gonna say it's been a shit show, but it's not been that bad. It's just been a really up and down time for me. Um this year, even going to Colombia, like I was really adamant with finding purpose in life. Like I've always been quite carefree, things haven't been, upbringing was difficult, but it wasn't like I was thankful. I had food in my belly, I had money, a little money in my pocket most of the time. I had a place to sleep, so I couldn't complain too much. But I was really like, especially with my faith, I was very focused on like finding purpose, not just living kind of aimlessly like I felt like I was before. And in the first month and a bit, I think I was on the right track. Nothing really materialized, but I felt like my mindset was in the right place. But with all the drama that was going on in the house, I'm not putting the blame on anybody else's. You have to. I hold myself accountable for all my actions, good or bad. And there were certain situations I didn't handle the best, but with all the drama in general, it it kind of messed with it was messing with me, and I found comfort in creature comforts again, things that I wanted to get away from. That I was just like, you know what, let me just stop stressing myself out and do this thing again. So in the middle of the trip, although I was like, it's funny that I always say this, like Colombia was easily one of the best experiences of my life, easily, like the teaching I was talking about, meeting certain people, both in our group and there, and just being out there, like it was a beautiful place to be, seeing how they live. So it was such a good time, but it was also such a terrible time because I was in my head so much. I'm an overthinker by nature. And when I was doing the things that I knew I shouldn't have been doing, especially in a different place where like, when you go to a new place, it's almost like a fresh start, just like the new year. When the 1st of January comes, everyone feels like, okay, it's a reset button kind of. So the the pressure that I was putting on myself, it was kind of overwhelming. So I felt like I was not depressed. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but like I was upset quite a lot. And coming back to the UK, sorry, I'm busy right now. No, sorry about that. Yeah, coming back to the UK, it was kind of it just that kind of kept going a little bit. Like it was hard to get out of that mindset. And so being back, I've been trying to stay busy, trying to, get rid of negative habits, pick up better ones. I'm still looking for work, like we were talking before about like what type of jobs I was looking for. And I just graduated last month from doing a law degree, and I'm still not sure what I want to do, like if that's the pathway I want to take or if I want to do something better. And it all goes back to the looking for my purpose. I just want to be happy. Like that's really not too much to ask for. Just to wake up with a smile on my face, no matter what I'm doing. And I don't know what that looks like really. Like I think my disposition in general is quite a happy one usually, but recently I've been having to fight more for that happiness, and for me, it's just a part of the process. Like it is very difficult on certain days, but on other days, it's like okay, you kind of need to go through this right now so that you're better equipped for when things are different. You know how to handle it. So you kind of look at it as a lesson that you just have to experience in life, and the better you get, the earlier you do it, the earlier that you're able to like conquer that lesson and succeed in it. It's only going to help out in the long run. And well, at least for today, that's where my thinking is. And I'm hoping, like we've been talking a lot about like where we are, and like it's funny because it's like one week I'm like, yeah, hey, we can do this. We can let's look at it on the bright side. Let's knuckle down and let's do this and that. Then the next week I'm literally not responding because I'm so depressed. I don't want to talk to anybody. And I kind of like I think it's a coping mechanism to kind of just like isolate myself when things are not really going to plan. So I'm not really, and that's something I definitely need to work on, like making sure that I'm still not reachable, but like especially to people that you care about. Like you never know what they're going through. That's one thing that I've been thinking about a lot. You never know what the other person is going through. So if you're being kind of selfish, obviously you have to put yourself first. Like if you're not going to put yourself first, no one will. But at the same time, it's important to be mindful for the people around you because they might really need you respond to them right now, and you might be the only person they can talk to about certain things. And if you're not going to be there, then that can lead to other things. And again, I still maintain that the number one priority is putting your own health, well-being, and mental health first. But there's a point where it can be selfish, and I think I do that a little bit. Like I'm a bit selfish with my time, and that's something I can work on. So to answer your question, I'm just living right now. I'm just existing, trying to find happiness in the moment, trying to find purpose, trying to build routine, build discipline in my day to day. Yeah, trying to find love. But that I think that can wait for a little bit. As much as I'd want that ASAP, but I think that needs to be on the back burner for now. Yeah, just trying to deal with life. Just life is life in right now.
It's so funny, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, but it's like I feel like we are going through a lot of similar things, being in such different places, but
Mm.
so connected as well at the same time. Like I'm going through these things, fighting with the definitely the issue of the routine. Um, trying to keep everything on track, even
Yeah,
when everything feels so chaotic. But it's more in the mind than anything. We're more making it so difficult and chaotic in our minds.
yeah,
And as well, I completely understand with the communication. People who know me know that I'm like that, and I think that I have a habit of reaching out to people because I want to know that they're okay more than I necessarily want to engage in conversation, or maybe for a moment I feel like I want to engage in conversation,
Yeah, that's it.
but then that moment passes sometimes within minutes. If
Yep.
it seems to be, people could respond to me straight away, and it's like, okay, well, I've received a response. I know they're okay. I'll get back to them.
Whenever you can, yeah.
But that whenever you can is like, sometimes maybe it is some kind of cry for help on our own behalf. It could be, but sometimes it doesn't feel like the right moment to talk. I just want to throw something out. You're all good. Okay, we're
Yeah.
good.
See, that just the person that comes to mind when you say that is Lorena, and I I hope she watches this. Her name I will say because I do hope she watches it. And
You think
if,
she's going to understand?
yeah, even if she can't understand, I still plan to message her. I think about Lorena so much because she was one of my favorite people that we met in Colombia, and I still haven't messaged her since we've been back. I said what, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm gonna message her. I'm gonna message her. I just didn't do it. Do you know why I didn't do it that time though? Because Colombia had just lost the Copa America final. And I knew that whole town, that whole city was reeling. You know, it was so funny. Both of them posted like where they were for the game or like in preparation for the game. Say, vamos, Colombia. After the game, radio silence on that Instagram. I could just, and you know how they love their sports down there, and me being such a football fan as well. Like I really wanted Colombia to win. That hurt me. I'm not even Colombian, but that like I was actually upset for them. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe now's not the best time to message. I said, okay, if I don't message her before, because I was gonna message her before the game, but I was like, let me just watch it. And then after they lost, I was like, okay. And then since then, I've been thinking about her, but I still haven't done it. And that just goes back to what I'm saying. Like, that is me being a little selfish because I'm like, I keep telling myself, I just need to get right with myself before I'm extending my support to other people. And I guess that's where, like, even when you're in your own like head, like you were saying, at least you're reaching out to people. At least you're just making sure that they're okay. That's the least that a person can do. So I'm definitely gonna take that on board. Even if because in my head I'm like, okay, when I message Lorraine, I'm gonna be like, hey, I miss you. I've been thinking about you. I'm sorry because I know she's gonna be upset that it's taken me this long to message her. So I've been, oh, I'm sorry that, things have been going on, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole big thing. It's going to be like a big paragraph rather than just being like, hey, are you right? How you been? Like, that's all it really takes. I know she's going to be mad at me, but at least just to see that she's okay, like, that's a good sign of friendship that I could definitely take into account. Like I can actually start implementing into my own life. But it's just all I've known for like these last few years. Like just when things are a little bit wrong, just keep it to yourself. Deal with it yourself. When you're ready, you come out your shell. It's worked for me in the past, but that doesn't mean it's the right way to go about things. So
That's
definitely some.
the thing is, like, there is no right or wrong way. We all have
Yeah,
our
that's
own.
true.
I I have wondered about this because I've talked about this with my therapist before about like attachment theory and
Mm,
the different types of there are supposedly like 4 types of attachment, and there's like I don't even remember them, and I would butcher it if I tried to explain. But the one that I relate to more than anything is like avoidant attached, something like that.
yeah.
And it's not so. The thing is, when I'm talking about it, it sounds like I can almost justify it to myself because I talk about how when people are leaving my life, or situations change, maybe I start to put a bit of distance in between us because I know, well, you're not going to be around as much anymore, or we're not going to talk, or we're not going to see each other. So by the time that the separation actually happens, it doesn't feel like it hurts me as much because I've already kind of separated in the first
Yeah.
place.
No.
Um, so I don't know. It's really, there is no right or wrong way of dealing with things. I imagine you also got used to it. I don't know how many people really leave London to go to uni, for example, but I would have imagined you went through that when everyone was going off to their respective unis. For me, it is difficult to maintain relationships with people in my life if they're not close to me. And that is
Mm,
very hard, as you can imagine, when I have, friends in England, friends in Australia,
yeah.
friends in South America, friends in Europe. I'm not close to, I'm not physically close to the people who I consider to be in my life.
Yeah, I can definitely see how, especially because you're all over all these continents, how that could be really difficult. It does the same thing is it's kind of similar to certain situations I've dealt with, but just not on that magnitude, I guess. For me, like I put a lot of stock into friendships earlier in my life for the maybe up to about 5 years ago, let's say, where like friends meant so much to me because the friends that I had in my life, I really thought like were my brothers. Like we went from secondary school, like there was a bunch of us, but like about three to five of us went same secondary school, same sixth form, same university. So we didn't really have to like we were all together. We didn't really have to make friends much. Like we didn't have to go out of our way to make new friends because we were always together. But then a situation happened where like that was the first instance of me isolating myself. And that really, 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 really hurt. Like I'm still realizing that even today I think about what happened then, and that definitely plays a part into how I behave with friends these days. Because this was not like me 5 years ago. Like I think I was a lot more open. I'm very open to making new friends. I enjoy meeting new people. I like to network like we were talking about before. But I guess back then I was a bit more closed off. So maybe that's a benefit of what happened that like now I'm more open to everything, everyone. Not to say that I wasn't open to any particular type of people before. I like everyone, no matter where they're from, what you do, blah blah blah. But I was just more comfortable with the people that I knew, the people I grew up with. So these days, I know that what happened back then is still playing a part in how I act now. And I can't really say if that's for the better or for the worse, but it's definitely changed. And I guess that to me, like the way I think about it now is that you shouldn't I shouldn't have put that much stock into my friends because anyone in this world can let you down. Anyone apart from God. But that's yet to come on to that. But and not I really didn't put that together. Obviously we had little skirmishes and little beefs here and there, but there was nothing that made me think about any of my friends a second time, like think of them any in a bad way until. And even what happened, it was I think it was a lack of communication is what caused the rift. But just the way that it was dealt with by those people that are cool friends, and they're still my friends now, but it's just not the same. And I think I was gonna say it's better this way, but I don't know. I don't know about that. But all that to say that, just like you were saying, is people deal with it in different ways, and yeah, yeah, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot to deal with sometimes, and yeah, I guess it's just easier to handle things by yourself when you're going through certain moments of your life, and that's just how I am right now, I think. But I do feel like it's important to not just stay in that comfort zone and to try and handle things differently and see if the results change rather than just doing the same thing all the time. And that's something that I think I do. So yeah, yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about religion then. So when do you feel like it? I mean, I imagine you've been religious your whole life. I think we talked about this a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, with religion comes some level of disconnection at points as we're growing up for whatever reason. But from what we were talking about, it sounds like really over the last year or last few years that you started to really reconnect.
Yeah, so like you said, like we talked about before, I grew up in church, I went to a Catholic primary school, Catholic secondary school, Catholic college as well. But I was always and so I went to church as a Catholic early on, but I was also going to Pentecostal church as well. And like most Christians, well, not most, I wouldn't say most, but people in this area, people that I know at least, it's almost like it's the same story for all of us that, you're forced to go to church for so long. Then when you get a sliver of freedom, like you go to university, or for me, it was just before university where like I was getting more independence as a kid, so I could make that decision if I wanted to go or not. So I fell out of. I think I've always been conscious about God, especially going to school. That like it's kind of part of the curriculum that you pray and you think about. You have some time to meditate on the Bible or whatever. So I've always been conscious of my faith, but I just wasn't practicing. I was just kind of, doing whatever I really wanted to do. But when I got to uni, I was going to church. Like, if I was invited to it, I wouldn't just say, "Hey, I'm going to go to church today." I would be like, if a friend of mine, about me, like, I don't mind trying it for today. And there was one time that a friend of mine was like, "Hey, just try this church." She wasn't even there, but she was like, "Just try it." And I went, and I just I felt something I had never felt in church. I was so emotional that day for no reason, for no reason. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, feeling that feeling, it kind of affirmed that there's something more than me. There's something more than what we see. So from then, I continued to go to that church. I continued to try and be a better Christian, be a better believer. And over the years, like that's why Colombia was such a big thing for me as well, because that is quite a religious country. They are predominantly Catholic, but the religious aspect of it really attracted me. Like when I was choosing where to go, I mean, being such a picky eater, Asia was never really gonna work for me because I just literally would not have been able to eat a single thing there. So, and Colombia did sound more fun in general. You hear Colombia, you just like, ooh. When I saw Colombia on that list, I was like, what? Colombia? And then when I got the email saying that I got it, I was like, what? I've gone to Colombia. That is just such out. It's so out of pocket for me. Like for my surroundings, like everyone. I didn't tell them until like a week before I went. And I was like, huh? You're going what? Yeah, bro. I'm
Sorry,
going to
just to
Colombia.
sidetrack quickly. How did you find the program that we did again?
So I just finished uni in like December, and I had been speaking to a success coach at uni. So close to the end of the term, I met him, and he was like, "Okay, so what do you want to do next?" And at that time, I wasn't really feeling going into law, and even now, I'm not really. I don't think I'm ready for it yet, especially going through having some experience in that field on placement. That just seems so boring to me, like right now. So I said I wanted to travel. Number one, I wanted to travel, and I wanted to try. I want to like just dabble in loads of things. I want to just experience loads of different occupations, different cultures, and things like that. So teaching was probably at the top of my list at the time. Like I just wanted to see if I was gonna be as good as I thought I was gonna be in my head. So I said I wanted to teach and I wanted to travel. So then he sends me an email with the go to co oops, the the website's name, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. I saw that fully funded as well. I say, you know what? Might as well just try. And still to this day, I don't think I've submitted a better application. I put my heart into that that personal summary when they asked like, why do you want to do it? So I was quite confident I was going to get it. And then when I had the interview with the person over Microsoft Teams, they loved me. Like they basically gave me the job on the spot. But I've had that before. Sorry, go
Sorry,
on.
did you have an interview for it?
Yeah, yeah. They one man, I forgot who it was, so some guy in glasses. He called me on like this and just asked me a few questions. What did you not?
No, I I had no
Just
clue.
the application and that's it.
But the thing is, I had applied for it had been a while back, and they knew
Mm,
I was traveling. Like I talked about the thing that I was traveling, so maybe it was to do with that. But no,
yeah.
I did not speak to anyone beforehand.
Wow. Wow. Well, they definitely made a right choice by just letting you come anyway because you were really good at it anyway. But like it didn't even really feel like an interview. He basically said that like just wanted to find out a little bit more about me, but I know if I didn't say the right things, they wouldn't have given me the thing. So but that was seamless. And then I think it was like June the 5th last year that I got that email. I still remember that day. And I was so excited. I was so excited because this is just so new to me. But a few things happened at home because I was going to go in September. I was going to go in September to November, I believe, or to December. But a few things were happening here that I couldn't go at the time. And luckily enough, like the one that our cohort was the last one in Colombia, and it was on my birthday that I started as well. So it was almost destiny that I was on that last cohort. So I think it worked out well. But yeah, back to like my faith and stuff. So where was that?
You went to church for the first time with your friend. Well, not the first time, but you went to that church for the first time
Yeah.
with your friend.
So that was in 2022. So from then I'd been a lot more conscious. Like these now I can't really do anything without thinking about God. Like I am trying to make him everything in my life. Like I think that's what it really means to be a believer, that everything you do is conscious of how God wants us to act. And like to me, it's especially like going through this kind of turmoil that has been going on recently, like trying to find my purpose and stuff. Knowing that fact was to me is a fact that like someone told me something about like he said something in the Bible about like it being a narrow path to heaven, but there's what 3 billion Christians in the world. How does that compute, you know? So it's
Are
obviously
you,
like
are you talking about like it's easier for?
a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter. Yeah, that also applies as well. Like there's so many Christians, so many people that say they are Christians at least, and but if they're saying it's a narrow path, that means it has to go a little bit deeper. And when it was my friend who didn't like go on. He was one of the I love the guy Chris. He's one of the guys that went on his own kind of path during like college and stuff. He started to do things his own way and he found God. I mean, he's always been a Christian as well, but like he started taking it seriously a lot earlier than me. So he was kind of like teaching me a little bit. When he said that, that really stuck with me. So knowing that and like still not doing what you know still doing what you know you shouldn't be doing and not doing what you know you should be doing, it's heavy. Like it's really, really heavy. And when I know I'm doing the wrong things, it weighs on me a lot more these days. So like that's what kind of leads to those isolation periods, to those times where I'm not talking to people, I'm really on a slump, I'm not doing much, I'm being lazy because I just know much more is expected of me. And it's kind of I know there's a saying about it, but something about like ignorance is bliss. That's it. Ignorance is bliss. You can not to say that everyone obviously has their own beliefs, their own way of living, but not knowing as much as you do know can be so comforting sometimes. Like you don't have that weight on your shoulders and knowing that expectation that you have to live a certain type of way or behave a certain type of way, do certain things. And that's definitely something that I'm dealing with now. Like sometimes I'm like, I just wish that I wish I wouldn't say that I wish I didn't find God more or personally, but maybe not now. And that even that just sounds crazy to me because it's all part of the journey. This is just, I guess, growing pains. Because I still feel like I am, even though we're still young in general physically, but spiritually, I'm even young. I'm a baby. I don't know much. I couldn't teach. I could only talk about my own experience with my faith, but trying to get someone else to understand it, like that would be quite difficult because I still don't understand a lot myself. So I guess it's just part of the process, and I'm just trying to find more joy in it. I know that it'll work out. Like that's one thing that even on my worst days, I try to make myself. I sometimes have to even convince myself that it's gonna work out eventually. But like when I am in the right mind space, like I'm thinking positively, I'm so sure that a lot more is coming, that I'll find my purpose that I'm blabbing on about, and that happiness, like that's it. Like that's that's in this world full of craziness and bullshit and evil. All you can really ask for is to just be happy, to wake up and have a smile on your face and have people around you that are happy too, like your family's happy, your family's okay, your friends are okay. And it sounds so simple to just be happy, but because of everything that goes on, because of things that are going on externally and internally, like it's just a constant battle that I found myself losing a lot. but when I know that it's just part of the process, that's what I believe, that eventually it's all gonna piece together for good, and the rest of my days can just be just a handsome young man with a big old smile on his face every day. That's what I
No,
hope, man.
I know, I understand completely what you're saying, especially about not feeling ready to talk and share about things that you don't necessarily know about. But
Mm,
I think, I'm very glad that we crossed paths. I think that you've really changed my perspective on a lot of things, and it's been a long time since I really connected so much with someone from the UK.
mm,
Outside of my, obviously I have my friends from when I lived in the UK, but they're old relationships, and
mm.
it's not often that I feel like I can open myself up to people from my own country, our
Yeah,
country. And I think you really open my eyes up to a lot of things, especially about what you're talking about. And for me, it's been so easy to forget about a lot of those things, or to put them aside, not take them so seriously. Not even some of these things I just haven't questioned in a long
yeah,
time. I think especially when it comes to faith, it's something that I've just put aside for a long time. Never. It's been a long time since I went to church. I stopped going to church when I was 13, and but I never gave up. I never lost my faith. At no
yeah,
point did I say, I've never considered myself an atheist. I
yeah,
think I've been through some more agnostic periods.
yeah.
Agnostic in itself just means that we don't know, and no one knows. We're all agnostic by nature. But I think speaking to you and all the conversations that we've had have definitely made me reconsider, and made me want to reconnect. Not that I have taken so much action on that, but
Yeah,
it's and there's still so much more present in my mind, and I do believe that people are put in our path, for those reasons.
exactly. Yeah.
But even if you
Uh,
don't know what you're talking about, I think you don't necessarily have to know 100%, just enough to make people to start the conversation.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true. And for me, I think, especially like even with my own friendship groups, I I'm not shy to talk about it, but given the way that religion in general, not even just Christianity, just some religions are a bit more laid back, but others are even more strict. So it's all, I guess, on a spectrum. And I wait, what was I just saying? I tend to not try to ram it down people's mouth, like ram it down their throat, saying, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this and that." Especially with Christianity, the way it's portrayed a lot of the time in media, and the way that people think that it's supposed to work is can be so messed up, so distorted, and that can just, like, if you listen to the wrong person, that can close a person off to the idea of faith and religion entirely. So I try to be mindful of what I say, and only speak for about my own experiences about it, because that's all I can really say for certain that happened. And again as well, like, a person has to be ready to go on that journey. Like, if I'm just talking, but a person is kind of happy where they are, they're quite comfortable, they got a job, they got money, they got this, they're not really gonna listen. And not to say that you have to find faith when things are not going right, but that's my own experience, like, I think I was when my friend did tell me to go to that church, or suggested I go to that church, I was struggling with procrastination. Like I was procrastinating a lot, and that's still something that definitely I'm still working on these days. It's a lot better, a little better. Let me not say a lot. It's a little better, but and because that was my final year of uni, I was stressing the f out so much about like just not getting it done in time, not being able to get the grade that I want, and that last year I was working at the university in the student society, so I had access to all like the different societies that they had, and I started looking into different things. So I was looking into like Krishna consciousness, which is a religion that's really popular in Asia, like India. It's, they told me it's more like a more so a way of life than a religion, that like is certain beliefs that you have, that certain ways that people should live their life, like just being kind to people and feel similar to. I don't know much about it, so let me not say for certain that it's similar to Buddhism, but that's kind of the same thing I heard from the little I do know about Buddhism. It's just more so a way that you live rather than having a god and heaven and hell and this and that. So I was looking into that, and at a certain point as well, let's just say an ex-flame of mine, she was Islam, and you know, we really like we went together like this, but she was very strict in her practicing of her faith, and I was still connected enough to my religion at the time. So I did look, but because of her and just the prospects of what could come from like being with her, I looked into Islam as well a little bit. And in all honesty, my heart wasn't fully in anything other than Christianity, because number one, that's all I've really known. Like even if I don't know like what the actual meaning of it was, I could still tell you stories about Noah's Ark and Moses and all of these different characters in the Bible, because I've literally grown up learning about them. But all these like Islam and personal consciousness, like it was all new to me. It was interesting, but like after a while, it's like, nah, it's not really enough for me. So going back to Christianity, like feeling the way that I felt that day, like I will never forget that feeling, because I, it was just I was literally sitting there thinking, why am I feeling this? It was so funny to me, but I loved it. I loved it, and after people have told me that, like once I don't want to say you're actually connected, because I don't want to demean anyone else's journey and say that if you don't feel what I felt, then you're not doing it right. No, because it's a personal journey, number one, and two, like it doesn't always have to be the same way for everybody.
Mm.
So but just that day, like I just felt like, okay, this is God saying, yeah, come back. It's time for you to start really taking me seriously, because again, like everyone, all the Christians, a lot of Christians that I watch and like I try to learn from, end times, end times, end times, even the ones that I don't really take seriously. You hear a lot about end times, like the end is coming. And we've been hearing about that since probably before. Like I know Y2K was a really big thing, but the year we were born, or 2000 and 2012, when they were saying the world is gonna end, this and that. But like the state of the world right now is just a mess. And I guess there's always gonna be a mess somewhere, but
Mm.
it's like everywhere is just a mess.
Yeah.
And it does kind of add a new layer, I guess, to when they say end times, to me at least, because things just don't seem to be getting better in the world anywhere. And I don't wanna like when I pray, when I really pray and I think about like what I want, like ultimately, and I'm not afraid, like the one thing that I want is eternal life. Like imagine just being able to live forever with in bliss. Like
Yeah.
it's a far-fetched theory to a person who doesn't is maybe doesn't is an atheist or doesn't isn't as connected or you know. But to me, that I don't even know what it could look like, but just the idea of eternity with a guy that just loves you unconditionally, like there can be nothing better than that. And that's why it's so difficult for me to is life is just getting more difficult because you know that you have to do the right thing now. And if you don't, like things just might not pan out the way that you want it to at the end. You never know, like the end can come anytime. And even before the end of the world, death is literally can be around the corner for anyone. God forbid we all live a long life here, but anything can happen anytime. And I just want to make sure that I'm ready for that. And even now, with being on this journey for a few years now, I still don't know the answer. Like I still couldn't say that I'm ready for that, but like for death, knowing where I'm gonna go. But that's the that I guess that's part of the journey. I'm just thankful that I'm still here to change that. Every day that I'm alive, I just believe it's God giving me another chance to get right. Just get closer to me now. Get closer, so that by the time that day comes, there's no doubt in your mind. I know some people that if they die now, they know where they're going, and that that security, like you can tell they live with that security in their life. Not to say that they're just doing anything, but they're happy. They're just happy, and nothing can really phase them. And again, everyone's journey is different. Everyone is going through different things. Like those people that I know, at least the one person I'm thinking of now, I know he hasn't gone through half of the things that I've been through in my life. Whether that's through nature, like way that we were born, or through our environments, the way that like we've been developed, things have been different between us. So it's everyone's journey is different, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing the right thing essentially. And yeah.
I think it's very important to have faith in whatever one believes in. I don't
Yeah.
think it's straightforward. Obviously, not everyone believes in something. I've met a few people who, one person in particular, I think of. He told me that he believes in science. He doesn't believe in anything else, and it's fair enough, but
Mm,
it's crazy to me that he doesn't think that there's any kind of external force in
yeah.
this world. For me, the way that life works, for everything to come together as it does, it doesn't feel like it's all just some coincidence.
Mm,
And I feel like going back to the afterlife, these are things that I've been thinking of recently as well. And even if you don't believe in some kind of ascension after, I think we will always live eternally, whether that be in a more of a metaphorical sense of what we do with our lives will never be, and it can never be unwritten. We have been a part of the history,
yep.
whether it
Yep.
be something so small or whether that be we have a daily impact on thousands of people's lives, millions of people's lives. It could be, we don't know, and we have to do what we can. We have to have faith in the system, in the belief system that we believe in,
Mm,
and we have to follow that path. But also, then the whole concept of where your body goes into the ground, and whether that's being, for a more morbid perspective, whether your body is burnt and your ashes are spread,
mm.
the energy is still transferred back into the world, or whether you're underground and eventually some little bug eats your,
Used to you up, yeah.
your energy is being transferred back into the world. And I think of, sometimes think of the scene from Breaking Bad. I don't remember if you've seen Breaking Bad, where they're breaking down the body, and they talk about that we have like 99.999%, but there's still this tiny little bit that can't be accounted for
Yeah,
in
yeah.
physical elements.
Did
There's
they
some.
say that in Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I'll send you the link after.
I remember
But
watching Neil deGrasse, that scientist guy. He was talking about like the physical weight of the soul. Like he was some basically along the same lines that there's a part of the body that can't be accounted for. So that has to be like the soul or something like that. Was it when they were where they went through the guy went through the ceiling, like the bathtub got oh
but then he was talking with I think it's
crazy eight, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think whether one wants to believe in, an afterlife in the literal sense,
Yeah.
or even a metaphorical sense, like our lives don't don't end. They don't just cease to exist. You can never, I think about that in relationships that we have with people, like you can never forget someone.
Mm,
No, even if you don't consciously remember that person made an impact on your life, and you make impact on other people's lives. No one can tell you forget about me, because it's not
yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Our,
Ever journey.
exactly, everyone is part of the journey, and we can never go back to how we were before, whether that be. And you can think about that from any perspective. You can't take today away. You wake up in the morning and you go on with your day. Well, that's today. That is
Mm,
today. There's no, today has happened. Tomorrow never comes. After the clock strikes midnight, is today again. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yesterday exists and today exists, but tomorrow never comes. You know, So I know this has been very, very philosophical, this part.
Yeah.
Um, what I did want to ask you about was, what is your opinion on suffering in this world? This has been another big question for me in religion, that with a God who is supposed to be omnipotent, benevolent, and omniscient,
Yeah.
how can he be all of those things and still let the suffering go on in the world?
That's that age-old question. I don't really know how to answer that. That's another thing that like I still question myself, like why, even if I'm just being quite selfish and talking about myself, like if I am on this journey, then why do I still need to go through certain hardships and difficulties in life? And that's not even to mention all the atrocities and pain and devastation that people are going through all around the world. I'm sure there is an answer in the Bible. I'm sure there's an answer for it as to why people have to go through certain things, because there are examples of people that God purposely allowed them to go through difficulties. So Job, he, but the devil basically said, "Oh, this guy is only blessing you because you bless him," and he was like, "If you were to take everything away from this guy, he wouldn't love you anymore." So God was like, "Cool, do it. Let's see." So the devil took everything away, his whole family, everything he had. He was a rich guy. He took everything away just to see what would happen, and he passed the test because like I don't want to say it's because of the time that he was in. It was easier to stick with God, but he stuck with God regardless. And I wouldn't say that's the reason people are going through hardships so that God can test them to see if they would turn to Him. But because of all the evil in the world that counteracts God's love, I think that's probably the way, that's how I look at it, I guess. This is actually something I would like to explore more because I really don't have a definitive answer for you. But I think as long as, I don't want to say that either, as long as there's good, there's going to be evil. But it just feels like there is a lot of evil in this world. And if we expect God to just say, "Hey, this is my word, I love you all, I'm going to stop all this evil," I think that'd be too easy, kind of. I was actually thinking of this maybe yesterday or today, that like, if it was that easy, then the world would just be even worse than it is now. Like, if it was that easy for God to say, okay, in Gaza, no more issues there, no more beef between Ukraine and Russia, no more riots here, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone just be like, oh, okay, so if he's just going to fix every time, I can just basically do whatever I want.
Mm.
So for you to experience the joy that comes with being a believer, at least in my opinion, you have to fight through all the adversity that comes with living in this world. Because before we were born, there's been bullshit. Like, we were literally born into a bullshit world, like a world where you had to be careful, basically. Like, you couldn't just be free to do whatever you want. And I guess there has to be some way to distinguish people that actually live for God and those who don't. And maybe that's why God allows there to be catastrophes and pain and things like that. Yeah, I think that's the way I'd look at it, basically, that you know goodness, I guess, can't exist without, in a vacuum. It can't exist by itself. I mean, it could, because sometimes I ask myself, why can't everyone just like love each other? And that just sounds such a childish thing. Like, why can't everyone just get along? Why can't we all just be friends? Why can't anyone from any religion, from any culture, from any race, just be nice to each other?
Mm.
For me, like, I'm far from perfect, of course, but in terms of loving people, like, I never go into it with a, what's the word I'm looking for? A stereotype? No, not a stereotype, like a preconceived notion of like, oh, you're this, you're girl, so I can't like you, or you're Asian, I have to look at you a bit differently. I'm always, when you find out a person's character, then you can't help but judge sometimes and say, you're not really for me, this and that. But at least on the surface level, I try my best to make sure that I'm trying to pour out the love that I hope to see from other people.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand sometimes why people, you know, I do understand, because, like I said just now, people are sometimes born into chaos. Worse than like I'm in London, like I'm in a little sketchy part of London, but it's still London. Other people are born in places there's still no clean water in 2024. And
Sorry, I was reading something today, something like there were, I don't know, I feel like I read there was something like 500,000 knife incidents in the UK this year or last year. 500,000.
that's that's actually insane.
It's like a
That's
thousand and a
that's
half a
insane.
day.
Yeah. And well, I guess that's just what we're known for. Just like America got their guns, the UK got their knives. We were basically looking for something more legal, but just as damaging apparently. But it's still better to be born. Well, I wouldn't say better, but like I'm still fortunate enough to be. I've been born here and not somewhere in a third world country where basic living necessities are not a given. Like you have to fight for those. You have to work for those things. And to expect a person from that upbringing to just love people that are taken for granted for things that they struggle for a month for example, that's a hard ask. That's a hard ask. And there's so many different variables that can go into why a person does what they do. So it's I get why it's more than it's so far fetched to say why can't everyone just love each other, but is it not possible though? Like, these global leaders that have such influence, it's not like I'm expecting them to say, hey, love your neighbor and do this and that, but like all
But those
this
sorry, but those people don't care about the people. They care
exactly, they don't care. Exactly. They don't even care. Exactly. As at least if they did, like, even though it'd still be difficult, making an effort would I think would be such a big step globally. But it's like
a lot to ask.
exactly, it's just a lot to ask. And I ask myself this from time to time, like, will I ever see peace, world peace in my lifetime? Then I ask myself, would there ever even be world peace? Because you see in these movies, like when they ask for three wishes, that's one thing that hippies will be like, oh, I wish for world peace. But even when they in the movies, it never works out. It just never works out. There's something that just separates people, and maybe it's just human nature to to segregate, and yeah, at least in certain ways in different cultures. But I just
Do you feel like London is particularly segregated? Like, do you think people tend to stick towards, like their own religious groups or racial groups?
to put it simply, yeah, because there are certain areas that you'd only find a certain demographic, and even like just on this on like because I'm thinking about religion still. I remember like back in the day when I go to church, if a white person came into a church, it's like everyone is like, huh? Like, huh? What? Like it's not a normal person, like just because they're white. It's like it's a marvel, and I still feel like that plays a part in today's society in London as well. Like if if workplaces, if there's a black person, no, let me not put it on race because everyone just likes to. Let's not even go there. But like, but
Another day.
yeah, another day for that conversation. But I hate that all this race talk, whatever. But yeah, like I do feel like people mostly are just at least more comfortable around what they know and what they've been raised in, you'd you'd be quite hard pressed to find people. I mean, I think at least within our age range, the hype, maybe like especially from like when we were going into our 20s, late teens, it was cool to be different. At least in where I was from, like just the demographic around my school and stuff, and social media, like what I saw on social media, people strive hard to be different, like to be wearing something different. Even though most people wear the same thing and dress the same way, act the same way, it was it was sought after to be different. Like people went out of their way to be different. And I feel like I kind of fell into that category low key. I always felt kind of different anyway, but like sometimes I would go the extra mile just to do something different. And oh, I hate when I forget why I put something up. Why did I bring that up?
You said that you hate the race talk, but being people being different. I was asking about like the whole if you feel like London segregates itself.
Yeah, so people striving to be different kind of allowed, yes, that's it. People like ventured out of their comfort zone. I saw that happening a little bit at some point that people would come out of their comfort zone and try different things, and maybe I'm just talking for myself, in fact, because I didn't like in I'll give you a little story. In sixth form, because like 10 to 15 of us all came together, we were the minority. We went from being the majority, like we were the popular kids in secondary school, popular. Well, I was the popular kid, they were the popular kids. And so we went from that to being the minority. Like everyone from the sixth form, like the majority of the sixth form came from the other side from when we came from. So we kind of stuck together. Like we made friends, this and that, but like we were known as a batch, and like we all had like high tops, and we'd all have like the same jackets and the same trainers. So like we were stuck with that name of being just the same. So I guess that's kind of where that idea of saying, you know what, no, I'm not, I love these guys, these are my boys, but don't say that me and this guy are the same. Like you're in the canteen and you're calling him Tim and that guy Edward or whatever, even though it's the opposite way. I didn't like that. So I guess that's where that idea was like, you know what, no, like let me start doing things a little differently, and then that just became who I was. Like, I guess that was part of like that's part of your like development stage, like when you're finding out who you are as a person. So now I'm like I am who I am. I'm a person who is not really closed-minded. I mean, like food and things is still a bit difficult for me to open my mind to that. But at least with people and accepting other people and interacting with other people, different people, that I'm completely open to trying new things, activities that I wouldn't have done before. And there were so many things in Colombia that I'd never tried before, and I was really happy. Like I enjoyed loads of those things, and again with like working as well. I want to dabble. Like right now, I'm thinking of construction. I want to be a fireman. Like shout out to Andrea back in Colombia. She like when remember when she was talking about like volunteering and stuff, and I was asking her about it. Since then, it's been in my head, and they just like refurbished the fire station near my house. So I was like, yeah, I would love to do that for a little while. So that's just me saying that like I have I guess I've developed that mentality to be to try new things, to not just stay in the same circle and social setting that I've been in my whole life. And it is quite difficult to ask that for everyone and in the world, yet alone London. but I do see that a lot more. So to finally answer your question, I do see that people are venturing now a little bit more. I don't know what the reasons are behind that, but on the whole, I would say that people just kind of stick to what they know, who they know, and the people they know, and they don't really venture out. But that's just like, especially like when I came back from Colombia and everyone's asking me about this and that, it's like they're not even aware of the world around
Yeah,
them. They're not even aware of the wider world. And yeah, people like to travel, but it's just like, and people will travel to loads of different places, but they're there for like a few days. They're there as a tourist, like they're there as on holiday. So you don't really get to see the world. You don't get to see outside of what you know, because you're just gonna come back into the same routine that you've been doing your whole life. And so Colombia, like I love that experience. I wish more people here like were aware of things that are beyond just London, beyond day parties and drink ups and house parties and
partying,
FIFA and yeah, and all just I wouldn't say common stuff, but like it's just basic. It's just almost a little too basic in my eyes. But again, like people like sometimes I think about people that work in Tesco's, like the people that are 60 years old working in Tesco's that have been there for 30 years. Some people just like routine, they like what they like what they know. And that's okay. That's generally okay. But some people you can tell that they want more, but they don't even know how to go about it. So they just stay where they are and they just kind of conform to what they know. And I never want to live my life like that personally. So
no, fuck conformity.
yeah,
But even
honestly.
to what you said, like about people not having any idea, I still find myself surprised. I still get surprised often when I go to a new
You,
place. It's been nearly 5 years of just moving around and meeting
yeah,
people from new places, but still, I hear things that surprise me. And I want to go back a bit and say I do think that the grand majority of people do accept and do live harmoniously regardless of others' beliefs, you
yeah.
know? Um, and I think
I
it is
remember
a
when we talked about that in Colombia. Yeah,
but it is a vocal minority, unfortunately. And the
yeah,
people,
that's it. Yeah,
they really want to be heard. They really want to be heard that they are uncomfortable by other other people and their beliefs, you know? I don't I think it is sad that they are such a vocal minority when most of the world is a very accepting place, and we all just want to get along fundamentally. No one wants to be in conflict. No one, well, the majority of people don't want to be in conflict, living their lives like this, and I think it is really sad that they almost make it feel like the majority do, but it's not what the majority does.
no,
And
that's exactly it. Because it does feel like when you say it, it makes sense that the majority would want to live harmoniously with other people, but it genuinely feels like the majority of people are just they don't like change. They just want it the way that they want it, the way it's always been, the way that it was once before. And it's just like it's just because they're so vocal about it. And that's just really unfortunate that people have such a they're allowed to have I mean, I can't say that you're not allowed to voice your opinion, but it's just like we they feed off people's objections to it, and it just allows it to grow and grow and grow and grow. And now it's at the forefront of the world, basically. Like if this Trump guy gets elected again, which he probably, I don't know
we
how
know
that's
what's
going right
gonna
now,
happen. No,
but
unfortunately, we know what's gonna happen.
and that's it's literally insanity to me. that he's going to win again. He won, he lost, and now he's back to that. That just doesn't make any sense.
There are too many things that don't make sense, and
Yeah.
I really don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think the problem is, especially with his supporters, are they want this idea of free speech, but only when they can have it. They don't want it when people say things that they don't like. This
Yeah.
is the biggest problem with them, you know. And I've had this conversation recently about the whole idea of liberalism, which is different to what we consider to be liberalism in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
But the whole idea about liberalism is the what we want is we want the majority of people to have that freedom, you know, and some having freedom sometimes means some censorship, sometimes
Yeah.
means not being a racist and homophobic and all of these horrible ways to treat people, because it's just not necessary, and some people can't take those things. So why be horrible? You know, why do that if you don't need to? Why say something horrible if you don't need to say those things and upset someone? But I think we will leave that conversation to another day, because with you, I know we can sit here and talk for hours, you know, and but I think everyone has hours and hours to listen to, and it is getting on. So I will come.
I was literally about to just go on another tangent. Let's just leave it there.
No, for sure we're gonna have to do another episode at some point. I would love to do another episode. But we'll move on to the last three things now. So I would tell you them all at once, and you can respond to them as you feel like. So the first one is a message in a language of your choice, be that English or another language that you may or may not speak.
Got me panicking right now. I was getting a little hot in here. Godly.
The next one is I would like you to ask a question to the next guest. And the last one is the question from my previous guest, Ping, which she asks you, what are you experiencing at the moment within yourself?
Those are some good questions. That was a good question. I definitely don't have anything as good as that for the next person. I'll keep it light for them. As for messaging my own language, I won't embarrass myself trying to speak Spanish right now. Should I? Nah.
Whatever you want.
Let me just ask in English. My message would be something a friend of mine told me today, in fact, is living in the moment. Just living in the moment and trying to find joy in the day to day. And one thing that like I've been realizing a lot is how impactful and meaningful these simple cliches that we've been hearing all our life actually are when you like really like take it in. And so like for me to say, oh, just live in a moment and enjoy it day to day, like it's easy for me to say that here or like giving myself, but to tell that to someone that's has it really difficult in their life, not to, and everyone has their own trials and tribulations to go through. So I just think that there can be something in everybody's life that you can be happy about, whether that's your family or that you're breathing, that you've got 10 toes, that you can speak. There's something that you can be happy for. And I say also kind of like to answer Ping's question about like where am I at in my life? Is that what it was?
Yeah, like what you're experiencing within yourself.
What am I experiencing? So that's literally the advice that I was given today myself, because I really needed to hear it, because like I mentioned before, things haven't really been going the way that I've been wanting it to go, and I've been allowing myself to dwell on the negative parts and not, and in that I'm missing the good parts in life, and I'm not able to enjoy them as much. So, and I don't like feeling like that. I don't like feeling negative and down and depressed and anxious and things like that. So I'm just trying to take that advice for myself, trying to enjoy what I can enjoy, trying to make sure I give my all to the things that I love, and just trying to, because if you continue with that mentality, I think you attract what you give out, like if you're giving out good energy, that's only gonna come back to you tenfold. Like I truly do believe that. It's easier said than done, of course, like most things, easier in theory than practically. But if you try your best, then eventually I believe that, well, personally, that you can get to that point where like you are genuinely happy in your life. So that's what I would say as a message and my experience. Right now, I'm just trying to, live in a moment, trying to enjoy things, trying to get my things to get, trying to get my shit together, build a routine and discipline in my life, waiting for the love of my life, wherever she is. Wait for me, baby. I'll be there. Don't worry. When the time's right. And last question, a question for the next guests. Thinking about love on that topic, I would ask, nah, let's keep it lighter than religion. Religion is a bit too much sometimes. Traveling. I now, seeing as that was my first instance of long-term traveling and you are a pro, I want to see. I'm guessing that everyone else is kind of in the middle. So, what would you say the next guest has been your favorite destination and why? And nah, yeah, let's just leave it like that. What was
Where?
your favorite destination and why?
Okay.
Yeah. Not just a holiday as well, somewhere that you actually got to know the place, if that is possible. Like if you just went on holiday, then fine, try and do that.
Well, everyone has to have their first time at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
For you it was this year, so maybe for someone else it's next year, maybe it's in 10 years. I
Yeah.
have I have some friends that are from the UK that I know haven't really been away,
Mm.
and I would like them to. I would like them to have that experience for sure.
Yeah, me too. Do you know it's funny? A couple of my friends actually signed up to go to the Thai the Thailand one, but I don't think they've done it in time. So now that they're not fully funded anymore, they just kind of disregarded it. But one of them is going to like Vietnam and Thailand and Malaysia.
No with go to go, just out of their
Not
own.
by themselves, inspired by me.
Nice.
So yeah, I was actually really proud to hear. Well, not proud, but I was happy for him because, like you were saying, I know he's never done anything like that before, and he's going to be gone for a couple of months as well. So I wish him all the best. I hope he hears this and hope he enjoys himself, man. Hope he enjoys
Yeah,
himself.
I wish your friend the best on his travels too. So you told me at the start you wanted to plug some stuff.
Oh yeah, I was half joking, but um, like what seeing as you were like, because we've been talking about doing this this podcast maybe a couple of weeks now. I started YouTube like a few years ago. I only made one video because I didn't have everything set up. I was trying to wait for things to be perfect, and that's why what you were saying about getting the first few episodes out, that stuck with me because I've been thinking about jumping back on because that's something I enjoy. Talking, just waffling. If you didn't notice by now, I love to waffle. I love it. That's my favorite breakfast too. But like I do think I can find joy in making content. So I've been thinking to start with football content at first, but to delve into lifestyle, just my life really. Number one, for like accountability reasons as well. I think that can really help with making sure that I'm staying on top of things, and also just to find some happiness, man. Just to find joy in the day to day. I think if I'm just got a camera, I remember I tried to do it a little bit in Colombia, until my tripod, my finger broke, and that's why I kind of stopped. Oh yeah, you were there when that happened, that whole debacle happened. So but that was fun though. It was fun to like walk around with that thing and people looking at you like, oh. Just jump in a video and stop acting. But yeah, I do wanna jump back on YouTube. The channel is AKATK. So that every time I start, I'll be like, yo, it's your boy. Insert whatever I'm going by that week, AKATK. And that'll just be the thing. So look out for that, if you if you enjoyed the episode, you like to see my handsome face again, then by all means check me out, aka at AKATK on YouTube.
I will. You send me a link and I'll put it in the description for sure. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been really nice to catch up with you again. We haven't spoken for this long since.
Yeah.
So it's been good. I'm really grateful for your time, for your words, as always. I really hope things pick up for you. I hope you find the right opportunity, and that you escape the UK before it's too late.
Nuts. Yep. Nah, I appreciate you having me. Appreciate getting to just talk as well. You're giving us give me a platform to vent. It's been a while since I've actually just got to get things off my chest. And I pray, that things continue to get better for you as well. And, the link up will come in person soon enough. Soon enough, we're going to see each other again for sure.
100%, 100%.
But until then, keep it online.
Thank you, everyone, for listening this week. It's been Backpacks and Stories episode 4. Take care.